There's a guy who walks into a Premier League football club knowing absolutely nothing about football. He gets mocked, humiliated, called a joke by the British press, which, if you've ever read the British press, is saying something. And somehow he becomes one of the most beloved coaches in television history. His secret weapon, a philosophy that's 2,000 years old. Ted Lasso wasn't just a feel-good show. It was a Stoicism masterclass disguised as a sports comedy, and most people completely missed it. Stick around, because by the end of this, you'll never watch Ted Lasso the same way again. And if you've never seen Ted Lasso, you're going to want to fix that immediately. Let's go back 2,000 years. It's 161 AD. A man named Marcus Aurelius becomes emperor of Rome, the most powerful person on earth. He controls armies, borders, entire civilizations, and every single morning, he writes in his journal, not about conquests, not about battle strategies, not even about how great it is to be emperor of Rome, which objectively seems worth at least a few entries, about how to be a better human being. Those journal entries became one of the most influential books ever written, Meditations, and one idea in particular cuts right to the core of everything. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Simple, almost annoyingly simple. The kind of thing you read and think, yes, obviously, and then immediately forget the moment someone cuts you off in traffic. And yet, it took a fictional football coach from Kansas to make the world understand it again. Ted Lasso lands in England with zero Premier League experience. The press hates him. The players don't respect him. His owner hired him specifically to fail, which is a level of workplace toxicity that makes most of our jobs look fantastic by comparison. A lesser man would have crumbled, packed his biscuits, and gone back to Kansas. But Ted does something the Stoics called amor fati, love of fate. The idea that you don't just accept what happens to you. You embrace it, you love it, you use it as fuel. That little sign Ted tapes above the locker room door, believe. Marcus Aurelius, writing alone by candlelight 1,800 years before Ted Lasso existed, would have nodded slowly and said, yes, finally, someone gets it. Because Stoicism isn't pessimism. It's not brace for impact. It's something far more radical. Control what you can, release what you can't, and show up anyway. There's a moment in Ted Lasso that I'd argue is the most stoic scene in television history. Ted turns to his assistant coach and makes a case for the goldfish being the happiest creature alive. His reasoning? A goldfish forgets everything in about 10 seconds. No grudges, no regrets, no replaying that thing you said at a dinner party in 2014. Just the next moment. The room laughed. It's a brilliantly funny idea, but Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher who was born a slave and became one of history's greatest thinkers, said essentially the same thing 2,000 years ago. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Don't carry yesterday's mistake into today's game. Don't let last week's loss poison this week's effort. Be the goldfish. Honestly, that should be on motivational posters everywhere. Be the goldfish. Epictetus, probably. Here's where it gets really interesting, because Ted Lasso also shows us very clearly what happens when you ignore Stoic philosophy entirely. The show's villain is obsessed with external validation, status, money, control, winning for the sake of being seen as a winner. He's the kind of person who checks how many people liked his LinkedIn post before getting out of bed. Marcus Aurelius had a word for people like that: lost. In Meditations, he reminds himself again and again to anchor to the present moment. Not the last battle, not the next conquest, just now. The villain can't do that. He's always chasing the next trophy, the next humiliation of someone else. He's a man with everything and the inner life of a parking ticket. And the show makes a clear and quiet argument. Ted, with his simple wisdom and his ridiculous mustache, is richer in every way that actually matters. Here's why I'm telling you this in 2026. We live in an era of relentless external pressure. Social media tells you your worth is your follower count. Your job tells you your worth is your output. Your bank account tells you your worth is your net worth. I am not immune to this. I check analytics, like some people check horoscopes, hoping the numbers will tell me something meaningful about who I am. They never do. And Marcus Aurelius, writing alone by candlelight in 170 AD, already knew this trap intimately. His core argument in Meditations comes back to the same idea over and over. The quality of your inner life determines everything, not your rank, not your victories, not your reputation. The thoughts you choose to entertain, that's the whole game. Ted Lasso got canceled after 3 seasons. The internet mourned. People were genuinely upset. But Ted, if he were real, would have been completely fine. He would have made biscuits, called his therapist, and moved on. Because Ted, like Marcus Aurelius, understood something most of us spend our whole lives missing. The scoreboard is not the point. The person you become while playing the game, that's the point. Marcus Aurelius was emperor of Rome for 19 years. He never published his journal. He wrote it for himself, probably never imagining anyone would read it. Ted Lasso coached a fictional team. He never won a championship. And yet, 2,000 years later, and across one streaming show, both of them are teaching millions of people the same thing: control what you can. Love what happens. Be the goldfish. If this made you think, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to go deeper on Stoicism, I'll leave a link to Meditations in the description. It's free. It's 2,000 years old, and it still hits harder than most self-help books published last year. Thank you for watching. Seriously. The fact that you're here, spending time on ideas like this instead of whatever the algorithm was trying to serve you today, means a lot. See you in the next one.